What up, guys? Welcome back. So today we're talking about the iPhone 15 Plus. Is it still worth it right now to buy? 10 months in, basically, we are literally 2 months away from new iPhones. So the 16s are right around the corner. The 15 Plus, my favorite iPhone from last year. Should you go out and pick it up? What I still love about this device and how it's been over the last 10 months. A quick follow-up video to my favorite iPhone from last year. The blue colorway here. The 15 Plus, you can see I'm on iOS 18 beta 3. The beta for me has been great. Not really any bugs whatsoever to speak of. We'll talk about that later on in the video. But what do I love about this device? We'll talk about everything that this has to offer. Still a beast of a phone, a powerhouse. But again, guys, hit that like, subscribe to the channel. All right, guys, let's talk about design on the 15 Plus. So first and foremost, we get these muted colors, right? Very subtle pastel-y colors. This is the blue colorway, very different than what we had on the 14 lineup. Those colors were popped a lot more, but I do kind of like this. Again, this is the blue colorway. It does look white in person. It is a very subtle shade of blue. So if you like pastel colors and if you like matte finish on here where there are no fingerprints, then you are going to like this device. Now, the matte glass on the back, the rounded edges, we still get that squared off design, but the rounded edges make this much more comfortable to hold in your hand. Just a really nice device to hold. It still feels premium. You know, it's not a cheap phone. It's still $899 starting price, but it does feel like a really good phone when you are holding. And it's light, of course, because it is aluminum, unlike the titanium we have here on the 15 Pro Max. There is more weight on the titanium on the Pro Max than what we get here with the design of the iPhone 15 Plus. And again, I am running the beta on here, and it just makes it feel 10 months, 9 months later, whatever it was. When I did install the beta on here, it did make it feel like a new phone once again. All right, guys, let's talk about the display on the iPhone 15 Plus. Now, I have a 15 Pro Max right here next to it. Displays on here, very similar. We're getting a little bit of a bigger screen on the Plus. The peak brightness across the board on both of these devices is basically the same. The 15 Pro Max will get a little brighter outdoors, but both of these phones are right around 1,000 nits of peak brightness, so you don't have to worry about not being able to use your device outside. It is plenty bright when you are outdoors. You will be able to use it. The days, I believe, and this is across the board for any phone, the days of not being able to use your phone outside are kind of over. There might be a few out there that still have that problem, but I think we're getting to that point where most phones today, and these are even low on the list now, but most phones today have either 1,000 nits or up of brightness, peak brightness, when we are outside. Now, one major difference, of course, and this is a deal breaker for a lot of people, and a lot of people that I've talked to, one of the reasons that they go to the Pro models is because of 120 hertz, right? So if I open both of these up, say we're on Twitter, and we go, 120 hertz on any phone is going to be silky smooth, but 60 hertz on an iPhone, you can tell right away the difference in 60 hertz versus 120, as you should, right? This is twice as smooth. But 60 hertz on an iPhone, you use it for a week, it's going to be fine. Now, I've said this in videos in the past, should this device at this price point have 120 hertz? Absolutely. There are Android devices out there that are $200-300 and they're getting 120 hertz. Hopefully this year across the board, the whole lineup, the iPhone 16 lineup, we will get 120 hertz refresh rate on all of our devices, at least 90, but at this price point, it should absolutely be 120 hertz. Now, of course, as you can see, both phones do have dynamic island, which is not something we had on the 14 lineup, right? The 14s, at least the Plus and the regular 14 did still have the notch. The Pro models of the 14 lineup did have dynamic island. That's when it did come out. But I'm a big fan of this over the notch. Now, do I prefer something like what we get on Android with the hole punch like this? Of course I do. This is what I want on my devices, but this is Apple, and we get what we get at this point with the display. But Dynamic Island, it's fine. It's better. It's usable, right? You can play music and you can see what's playing, and you can use it and go in. You can also hit the clock and do some things where dynamic island becomes just part of using your device daily. It's not just an eyesore like the notch was. It does have some use case to it, which is a plus and does make it a better option than what we had when Apple was giving us the notch on all of our devices. Now, I prefer something like what we get on Android devices, and hopefully we'll get there eventually. Now, one thing you're not going to have to worry about is performance with the iPhone 15 Plus. It is a beast. It's got the A16 Bionic, the same chip that was in the 14 Pro and the 14 Pro Max. And of course, we're going to get support for years. So I think it's 3 to 5 years, whatever it is. I think it's 5 years at this point. But this thing handles anything you throw at it. Apple, you guys know how the chips are with Apple. They are just monsters. Even older chips. We're going back to the 13 Pro Max, even the 12 Pro Max. Those chips, we never really use our devices to the power that they have, right? We never use them enough to give us the benefits of how powerful they really are. And this is no different. You can play any game on here. If you're a gamer, can watch any content without any hiccups, no issues at all. And of course, with years of support, just like most companies are doing now, you're going to be good to go for many years to come. Now, one of my favorite things about this device is the battery life. If you need a phone that goes a day and a half, 2 days, depending on how you use your device, this will give you that. This has the best battery life in any iPhone ever made. I'm going to say it right now. This is the best battery life. 13 Pro Max is really close. 15 Pro Max is really close. The 15 Plus has the best battery life ever on an iPhone. In my opinion, check the videos. There's tons of videos out there comparing it to other iPhones. This has been a beast. This will do whatever it is you want it to do, and it will do it all day long. Don't worry about having to charge it. At the end of the day, you're not going to have to do that. Battery life on here is just it's been great. No complaints at all. One more thing that we need to talk about when you pick a phone, especially at this price point, right? We're not talking over $1,000. I mean, this phone could go over $1,000 depending on how much storage you get, which is one thing I'll touch on at the end, storage. But the cameras on here, we get the new 48 megapixel cameras on this device, the same one that was in the 14 Pro Max, right? So we're getting more resolution with our photos. We're still getting that crispy, clean video with this device. The photos on here are fantastic. You can just pull this out of your pocket. You can shoot. You can digitally zoom in a little bit. We're missing the telephoto, the 5x telephoto. That's what we're missing that the Pro Max does have. But we are very close to just as good, if not better in some cases, depending on what you are shooting and what lens you are using. The camera lenses on here in some cases are just as good as what we get on the 15 Pro Max. So you're not going to miss out on anything when it comes to shooting photos. And because it's now a 48 megapixel camera or lens on here, when you do digitally zoom in, you're not losing all of that resolution because you have more to work with. So the camera and the photos and video quality, of course, on here is fantastic, like it's been on iPhones for years, but the photo quality is much improved on this device than previous generations of the Plus. You're really not missing out when you're using this device compared to the Pro Max, and it's not really something that's ever been said before in previous generations of iPhones. Now I want to talk about price last, right? So $899 starting price at 128 gigs of storage, and that's something that I mentioned a minute ago that I wanted to touch on. 128 gigs of storage should be gone, right? The new lineup of phones, the iPhone 16, give us a minimum of 256, especially when we're paying $900 starting price point. Give us 256 gigs of storage. That should be the minimum that is offered by Apple, starting at $899. They're probably going to go up in price like a lot of companies are doing this year, but it's time to get rid of 128 gigs. But we'll just talk about this now because should you go out and buy this device, it's a beast. It will be a beast for a very long time, and it's going to make you happy using this device. But should you go out and get it, my advice to you is to wait. My advice to you is to wait 2 months, see what there is with the new lineup of phones, see the price point, because this phone will probably still be on sale on Apple's website. But if you want to get this phone, Go on eBay to a trusted seller. They have excellent condition, mint condition, refurbished for right around $650. So if you want to go that route, that's what I would do. I would get it used, open box, whatever it may be, for right between $600 and $700. You can get this for, instead of spending almost $900 to $1,000, depending on storage, directly from Apple. But if you can wait 2 months, then wait and see what Apple gives us with the new lineup of phones. But that's it. This phone is still great. Still my favorite iPhone from last year. That's it, guys. I'll be back soon. Peace.